Hello everyone, my name is James Vang, the Hmong powerlifter, as seen over here. If you kind of don't know who I am, so if you wanted to know if I'm the real deal or not, these are just all the records that I've acquired over the years. My current numbers as stated by USAPL, my online coaching thing with Team Roar. Just a little bit about me, some of the things that I've been a part of, some of the thank you letters that I've gotten over the years, and some of the accomplishments that I've had and I've kept, being in the newspaper, having medals, thank you cards, giving speeches to Hmong schools and minority schools, kind of like in the Minnesota and Wisconsin area. I've also been featured in Success That Looks Like Me, the only Hmong person who is an athlete that was featured in this book amongst the top 25 most successful people. Success might mean different things for different people, but for myself, it's what I've accomplished, not what I currently own and have. I'm also an admin on the Hmong Fitness page. We do a lot of events throughout the years, just kind of showcasing like every year, kind of like all the events that we've been putting together to kind of get together, share information, promote health and fitness within each other, remind each other why it's important for us to not quit and continue on this health and fitness health train. This is from the most recent J4 tournament that me and Mark, currently the two guys on the left, along with everybody else that came to support us and all the folks on Hmong Fitness that support our vision for healthier lifestyle in the Hmong community. Again, so just a little bit of pictures of some of the people that I've competed against. But the main thing why I'm actually even making this video and talking about my credentials is just so you kind of understand why I'm even making this video, and if you respect all of the credentials and accolades that I've accomplished so far within my life, then maybe some of the information that I talk about is going to be important to you. Now, this is a picture of my mom's dad and my mom's mom, both who has passed away from diabetes. I've also had a grandpa who has passed away from liver cancer. My dad's mom currently just had a stroke, and my dad is currently a diabetic and heart attack patient at the age of 40. And my brother, who's only 28, he had a heart attack just about 3 months ago. So you can almost think at the current date, which is, November 5th, 2019, right now, currently within my family, I have 3 generations all having health problems, all at the same time. And if we continue this trend, what that pretty much means is if you have any kids right now at this moment, who is possibly second, third generation Hmong, or just Hmong, or just if you're living in America in general, the likelihood of you having diabetes, heart attack, a stroke, or any type of health ailments is very high between the ages of 10 and 20. And if you are the type of person like me that just loves your family or just love the ones that you love, then maybe this information and some of the things that I'm going to talk about is going to be important to you if you want your kids to bury you into the ground, not you burying your kids into the ground because they're going to have a heart attack at a sooner age than you. So I mean, just think about it. My grandma is 60 something years old. She just had a stroke last week. So why did someone at the age of 60 something ended up having these health issues after her son, who is 20 or 30 years younger than her, who also had a stroke after her grandson, who is 40 to 50 years younger than her? So this kind of makes me wonder, like, anybody at this moment in time can be susceptible to all of these problems. And let's dive in a little bit deeper. So technically, all of the sources that I'm going to go over, you can kind of take a look for yourself. You could check to see if what I'm saying even makes sense or if what I'm saying is just a bunch of bull. But this is the reason why I'm making this video is not because I'm being sponsored or that I'm trying to, maybe I am trying to push a narrative. The narrative that I'm trying to push is for people to exercise and think a little bit more about what they eat. But generally, nobody's sponsoring me, no company, nobody's paying me to make this video. So I'm going to spend literally the next 6 to 8 hours just to make this video to kind of promote this idea that if you want to live a little bit longer, maybe exercise and food might be something that's important to you. And if it's not important to you, I want you to just think about it a little bit more, okay? So let's just focus a little bit on the Hmong people since I'm Hmong, and this is kind of something that's currently happening to me and my family and a lot of my friends. Now, just because you're not Hmong doesn't mean this doesn't pertain to you, okay? I'm only speaking this on behalf of my community, not because I only want to help my community, because some people tend to think like that, where they don't want to come and listen to what I have to say or support any of my events because they don't feel welcome because they're white or they're black or they're Hispanic. No. If you have any health issues at all or you currently live in America, then this video pertains to you. All right, now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. All right. Now, these are just two different sources that I'm going to kind of go over about kind of the overall status of Hmong people just living here, a little bit about what we do, our social structures and stuff like that. But mainly, I'm going to focus on health, which is represented here. And on this tab, kind of the health status of what we got going on right now. So if you look here, diabetes, we are more likely to have diabetes than any other ethnicity in America roughly at this moment. And if the trends is continuing the way that it's continuing, this is going to be even higher than higher. It's going to be highest, EST. And then at the same time, you just take a look at all the other stuff that we have. It says we are twice as likely to die from stomach cancer, but we have a lower rate of cancer, which is kind of funny, right? So regardless if we have a lower rate of cancer or not compared to these people, the fact that we are even in this moment or this little category means that's one too many people who are dying from cancer. And if we can stop that from happening, why not? But what makes that kind of interesting is the people that do have cancer, and let's just say specifically stomach cancer, are twice as likely to die, and partly due to vaccinations, right? Because Hmong people, we're really hard-headed, or maybe we're just really broke and we don't have money to go pay for these medicines or even go get a checkup, so we end up dying more from these cancers and all of these other health issues. A majority of us are poor. A majority of us don't really have high education. Check it out, 27% of Hmong in Minnesota, which means this doesn't include California, Wisconsin, Laos, Thailand, whatever, but 3% white people, 27% Hmong people. Now, let's continue down the road, right? Hmong are the most susceptible to having respiratory illness, cancers, diabetes, and heart attacks. Hey, so kind of all the things that I want to talk about. And let's kind of dig a little bit deeper into that, So diabetes has been kind of like a big one in the Hmong community lately, because if you have heart diseases, cancers, or other illnesses, more than likely you also have diabetes. But just because you have diabetes doesn't mean you have lung cancer or heart attacks or cancers, but more than likely if you have any of the other diseases, you also have diabetes. So why don't we just kind of take a look at diabetes? All right, so again, this is just one source. You don't have to believe me 100%. Be smart, kind of go into yourself and do your own research, but this is just because I want to save time and I just kind of want to go through this really quick. But just think about diabetes, right? Let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is there's different types of diabetes. Just understand that if you have type 1, there's technically nothing you can really do about it because you've been born with it. But Hmong people don't have type 1 diabetes for the most part, at least from all the people that I know anyways. Most Hmong people have type 2 diabetes, and he even says is the most common form of diabetes. But check this out. While some people can control their blood sugar levels with healthy eating and exercise, others may need medication or insulin to help manage it. Alright, so a key part of managing type 2 diabetes is maintaining a healthy diet. Alright, it didn't say exercise, so think about that. Most Hmong people, now that we're living in America, we have access to fast food, a lot of processed food, hot dogs, drink a lot of soda, a lot of candy, sausages, sticky rice, and all that stuff every single day, 3 days a week, or 3 times a day, 7 days a week, for literally probably less than $20 a day. And for some, that is doable. McDonald's, another popular place where people like to buy food, because obviously it's just cheap, because again, it kind of reinforces the statistics, right, of Hmong people being poor, and having low education compared to other people, and the problems that we face. Obviously, because Hmong people's only been in America for about 44, going on 45 years. Not technically our fault, but that doesn't change the fact that Hmong people are still dying, which means if Hmong people has already been here for 45 years, we can do our best to learn what it is that's going on with our community and do the best that we can with the education and the successful people that we have now to kind of fix this problem of people dying from diabetes and dying from all these other health problems. All right. Now, another thing too, on top of maintaining a healthy diet, is what? Exercise. All you have to do is get moving. You don't even have to power lift. My dad, who is a current diabetic right now, doesn't want to go to the gym with me because he says, I can't lift 600 pounds, so I don't want to go to the gym with you. Well, I don't know why my dad keeps giving that excuse, because about 99% of the world cannot do what I do. So there's a good chance that you're not just going to be able to pick up 600 pounds just because you're going to the gym. But the idea is all you have to do is get moving. So if you like running, run. If you like martial arts, guess what? Go train with Lucky Lee. These people doing all kinds of other fun stuff that you can do to get you motivated and get you moving. And that's pretty much diabetes, right? Part type 2. If you exercise and think about your food, you won't have diabetes. And if you don't have diabetes, the chances are the heart diseases such as heart attacks, cancers, just like what we were talking about earlier. Lung cancer is very big in the Hmong community. Stomach cancer is very big in the Hmong community. Cervical cancers are very big in the community for you ladies out there. Lung cancer, right? Because we smoke. Stomach cancer is because we freaking drink a lot, right? If you can prevent diabetes, you can prevent just about all these other ones. But I digress. Let's continue moving forward. Heart attacks, right? So, again, so many people are dying from heart attacks every year, and more people are starting to die. The trend is increasing, specifically in the Hmong community as well. Part of the reasons why diabetes and heart attacks and stuff like that are starting to increase within our community is obviously because now that we're living in America for the last 45 years, we're starting to get into the American diet, the American lifestyle, just like everybody else. All of these problems that we have currently with heart attacks and diabetes, all of this stuff was much, much lower in the 80s when Hmong people first moved here, because the Hmong people that were living in America in the 80s were not even the first generation of Hmong people in America. A lot of the people that were living in America in the 80s tend to be Hmong people who came from Laos and Thailand and Vietnam, which means their entire lifestyle for the most part was farming and hunting and moving around a lot. They didn't have all these processed foods, and they didn't decide to just sit at home and not do anything while watching Korean dramas and whatnot, causing all of these health issues. So if The transition from Southeast Asia to America, the only changes is the lifestyle, which includes exercise and nutrition. Maybe exercise and nutrition is the key to stopping diabetes and stopping heart attacks, right? But let's continue forward. Non-Hispanic whites and non-Hispanic blacks. These two groups right here has been in America for the longest, on top of American Indians, obviously because they've been here all their life. But you know, white people and black people currently at the moment probably outnumber everybody else in America, specifically white people. So let's say if the population of white people is the most in America, they technically have one of the highest percentage, but it kind of makes sense because there's more white people. But look at the Asian people. There's not as many Asian people, specifically Hmong people, that live in America, and yet our percentages is just almost as high as theirs. But they've been here for 400 to 600 years, right? These people been living here all their lives. These people right here, outside of Asians or Pacific Islanders, has been here all of their lives, which means their trends are not going to get any bigger. But ours are, because we are just now incorporating the American lifestyle into our life, which means this number is going to be higher very, very soon. This is in 2008. So honestly, even today, we're probably already above them. I'm not going to look through it, but let's just say 2008, this is the reality. 11 years later, I guarantee you this is probably already above these two. But again, let's continue moving forward. Americans at risk for heart disease, right? So other medical conditions and lifestyle choices can also put people at higher risk for heart diseases, including, hey, diabetes. Isn't that what we just went over earlier? If you change your lifestyle by exercising and eating, you will have less risk for heart attacks. And look, overweight, obesity, poor diet, not exercising, and drinking a lot of alcohol. Doesn't that sound kind of like the Hmong diet and the American lifestyle right now? Not really exercising, eating as much cheap, processed, fatty foods as we can, drinking a smack load of alcohol, on top of being a diabetic, causes heart attacks, right? So my dad is literally all of this right here, except for the alcohol use. You know, my dad doesn't drink a lot of alcohol, but he does smoke. He does eat poorly. He doesn't exercise. He is obese. He's not overweight. He's obese, which ends up having diabetes, which ends up having what? He's already had 3 heart attacks. So I'm waiting on the 4th one. And, you know, it's the saddest to say that, but it's just facts, right? You can't deny facts. And if you want to check me on that, feel free to read up on other studies and other sources so you can believe that I'm just not making this stuff up. All right, now let's continue forward, right? So brain diseases like strokes and Alzheimer's, right? Something that's been kind of prevalent within the Hmong community, right? So this is again back to the social statuses of Hmong people. And if we look, end of life, right? Kind of like what's going on with Hmong people during their end days. Many of us are slowly having Alzheimer's and other strokes and other mental problems, right? So let's just kind of take a look a little bit about what they say about Alzheimer's, right? So these are, you know, like a little report, 2019. So this is very recent. You know, I'm on page 14 out of 90. Risk factors for Alzheimer's, right? This goes into kind of like age, you know, digging a little bit too deep for me. So if it's, you know, it's talking about enzymes and proteins and stuff like that, about why Alzheimer's, or the fact that you're going to forget, or the fact that you might have a brain stroke sometime soon, is caused due to age. This is kind of like the number one reasons why. But look, family history, right? So you don't need to have a family history to develop this. However, if you have a parent, brother, or sister with Alzheimer's, you are more likely to develop this than someone who, or more likely to develop disease than those who do not have a first-degree relative with Alzheimer's. Which means if you have a stroke, such as my grandma, or Alzheimer's disease, more than likely If you are her son or you are grandchildren or something like that, brother or sister, there's more than likely we're all going to get it, which means my nephews and my nieces are very prone to strokes. And if my dad has diabetes and heart attacks and my brother already has a heart attack, guess what? When diseases run in families, genetics, and shared environments and lifestyle factors. Whoa, let's take a look at this. Access to healthy foods and habits related to physical activities may play a role. Now, this isn't 100% true, but let's say if you were going to have a heart attack, or if you were going to get a stroke, or if you were going to develop Alzheimer's or diabetes, if you had better access to healthy foods and be activities, the chances of you having this is less. It's not guaranteed, but if you had a less chance of dying, right, I might want to think about changing my lifestyle a little bit. So let's take a look at modified risk factors. Age and family history cannot be changed. So generally, if my dad already has a heart attack and my brother currently has a heart attack, there's a good chance I'm going to have a heart attack soon. But let's modify stuff and see what the deal is, right? So most people who are susceptible to Alzheimer's or strokes tend to have a reduced or a decline of a risk of cognitive decline, right? So pretty much what they're saying is, because I already read some of this stuff, they're pretty much saying that if you don't do a lot of reading, or if you don't do activities that involve the health of your brain, or if you don't use your brain as much, more than likely you're going to develop Alzheimer's or have stroke. Especially if you're stressing all the time, more than likely you're going to develop a lot of these issues because that is what you are doing to your brain, correct? Now let's look at modified risk factors, or factors that you can change to stop all of these problems from having. And look what it says. For strokes, regular physical activity and management are cardiovascular risk factors such as diabetes. Hey, this is another common theme within what we're just talking about. Obesity, smoking, hypertension, on top of cognitive decline. Obviously, as we get older, our brain function isn't going to be as good. But if you don't have diabetes, if you are not overweight, if you don't smoke, and if you don't eat a lot of fatty foods, even if you get older, the chances of you having a stroke or develop Alzheimer's and other brain problems is less. It is also concluded that there is sufficiently strong evidence that a healthy diet, lifelong learning, and cognitive training reduces cognitive decline, which means if you do a lot of activities that involve physical activities, that involve a healthy diet, and involve training your body even when you're 60 or 70 years old, there's a good chance that you're not going to have any of these problems. Brain health is affected by health of the heart and the blood vessels. Pretty much saying if your heart is healthy, if you exercise and eat good foods, more than likely the blood vessels within your body aren't going to be clogged up with all of these health problems, and then your brain runs better. Stomach cancer. This is kind of some of the cancers that Hmong people currently are dying twice as much as other ethnicities, right? Check this out. These are all risk factors. Age. So if you're older, which means it kind of goes with this. Brain, strokes. So age has a part of it. Men. So if you're a Hmong man who's fairly old, who doesn't exercise or don't eat or don't do anything that involves cognitive improvement, more than likely you're going to develop stomach cancer. But bacteria. So obviously Hmong people don't get vaccines because we're poor and we're not thinking about our health as much. And that involves us not getting the proper treatments for bacterial infections within the stomach, and that causes stomach cancer. Family genetics. Hey, look, it's again, now I'm just kind of like repeating myself over and over again, genetics. Diet is a cause of stomach cancer. Previous or other health conditions, which means if you have all of these, you're going to develop this more. Occupational exposure. This is interesting. Certain dust and fumes can increase developing stomach cancer, which means there's a lot of Hmong people that are probably involved in jobs that deals with dust and fumes. And it kind of makes sense because Hmong people love cars, right? So that means we're always involved around smoke and fumes and dust that when we fix our cars. And if you want to look at these studies just a little bit more, this one right here, right? Industries that Hmong were employed in various industries and occupations. The most common industry that was most employed by Hmong Americans were manufacturing. Arts and the entertainment was the next highest. So we are talking about almost 50% are manufacturing jobs, which means they're going to be what? Bam. Right here. Tobacco and alcohol use. Hmong people drink and smoke a lot, and guess what? Again, obesity. So generally, do I really need to go through any of these other health risk factors anymore? At the end of the day, it kind of goes back to controlling this, because it seems like if you have diabetes or you are at risk for diabetes, you'll have all of these other problems that Hmong people currently have and are trending even more. And what is the key to managing type 2 diabetes or not even having it? Healthy diet, exercise. And honestly, it's kind of simple. You think about it. If you exercise a little bit more, you don't have to do crazy amount of exercise, but just a little bit more than what you're doing today. So if you are training 0 days a week, why not just train 1 day a week? 1 day a week means you are 1 day less per week with this. 1 day a week more of not having any of these issues. And guess what? If you exercise 3 days a week, that's 3 days a week that you no longer have this, and the chances of you spreading that to all your loved ones is less. And if you don't want to bury your kids and you want your kids to bury you, maybe you might want to start thinking about exercising and eating. And when a lot of people talk about motivation, about why they don't want to train or exercise or something like that, maybe don't exercise for you. Maybe exercise because of the people that you love and you don't want them to worry about you. Or maybe exercise so you can live the life that you've always wanted. And generally, that is pretty much it. We're going to go over kind of a little bit more in the next part of this video about how I think about dieting and a day at the grocery, a little bit more about exercising, and then kind of like an overall conclusion of why it is important to live the lifestyle of exercise and health and nutrition. You don't have to dab yourself into what I do, where I, have records up the wazoo, travel, training, trying to do all this stuff. This is kind of like more on the extreme side. 90% of the people just need what? To get moving. That's it. And that's all for now.